Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to video number 2 of the day when I don't know what the fuck happened with my makeup. And guess what? You get to get a hormone replacement therapy update! Woo! Yeah, it's been like a while since I've done one of these, just because of the fact that things slow down after a while. You've got those immediate effects that kind of happen right off the bat within the first month or so, and then you've got the things that take time and that you weren't expecting, etc., so on and so forth. Now, usually in my hormone replacement therapy update videos, I do have a segment that's considered the TMI section. You know, this is the part where I talk about things that a lot of people are going to think are too much information, but anyone who is a trans woman is going to be going through this, or who is interested for scientific purposes, is going to be very much wanting to hear about. That being said, in this case, pretty much the entire episode is kind of just that segment. And I don't mean a little TMI, I mean we're going to talk about things like fluids and smells and things that just, you know, it's like you probably do not want to stay tuned to it if you're at all squeamish on the subject or a prude or anything like that. So this is your chance to just walk away from this whole video right now. Do it. Go. You don't want to hear it? Go. Okay, you're still here, so I assume you're going to be okay with everything. I warned you. Alright, so first we're going to make a little side note on boobs, because those get their whole video this time around. My boobs are still coming in. They're definitely a lot nicer now, but this is a process that takes a while. The pain comes and goes. So does the growth. It just kind of happens in spurts. It's not anything super duper amazing, but I mean, it's kind of nice. Moving on, addressing topics I've spoken on before, emotionally I've also definitely been pretty leveled off. You know, that was something that kind of happened from the get-go, but like, it's getting better as time goes on. Now there's still the crying at kind of random things that you would not typically think would elicit such a response, or, you know, that you're kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm crying at this, like watching an animated teddy bear get ripped apart or something like that. That was a heart-wrenching scene. I have no regrets. But, I mean, it's nothing ridiculous or anything. It's just, I guess I'm a lot more sensitive about things like that than I ever was before, which is maybe not saying a whole lot because I've always been really sensitive about it, but actually having to fight back tears because I'm like, oh no, my roommates are going to see me crying about this, is definitely kind of a new experience. So moving on to the main meat of the subject here, we're going to talk a little bit about estrogen and some of its effects on like your bodily fluids, for lack of a better term. And hell with it, we're just going to dive straight in. So the hormonal differences between people with a testosterone-based body chemistry and an estrogen-based body chemistry do cause differences in the way we smell. It's just a fact. That applies to pretty much everything that gets secreted out of every pore and orifice in your entire body. I have a really sensitive nose, so I don't know how much other people notice this, but to me it's extremely noticeable, actually much more so now than it ever was before. Because for one thing, my sense of smell has increased drastically since starting hormone replacement therapy. It's like I am just smelling things I have never smelled before and being just overwhelmed by scents that would not have been anywhere near as overwhelming before. So places you may notice this if you do have a very sensitive nose. Your sweat is going to definitely start to smell different. Really in a good way. It's going to lose that whole really pungent, overpowering characteristic that testosterone really gives to sweat, and take on a much more light and actually almost like pleasant type of scent. I don't know, I mean, depending on how you feel about bodily smells from people, maybe pleasant, maybe too extreme of a word, but it's non-offensive is what I'm getting at. I hate going here, but for the sake of science, I feel like I have to. Your bathroom smells are going to be different too. Yes, the hormones in your body have an effect on what the stuff that comes out of you when you're in there smells like, and no, I have not been like leaning into the toilet to figure this out. It's just, you will notice it if you have a strong sense of smell. You'll notice it even more if you're ever in situations like I'm occasionally in, where it's like I'm not doing anything to pass, I'm not wearing any kind of clothing that's even usually considered to be gendered female at all, and I'm somewhere and I just have to run to the restroom, and so I'm just like, fuck it, and I go into the guy's room because I don't want to freak anyone out. Those places smell so awful, and I never noticed it before. Now it's like, oh my god, I can't believe I even used to go in there. And let's face it, any bathroom is really not a pleasant place for your nose to be in, but I mean, And with my sense of smell developing a little bit more, me really starting to notice these differences, I'm just like noticing all of these like male or at least testosterone based scents more and more and more. And it's like, guys, I'm sorry, you stink. Alright, so now we're going to transition into like sexual function, another extremely TMI topic, but once again, gotta bring it for the sake of science. And to smooth that transition along, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people apparently don't know about or never find out about. Okay, so like, one of the myths about transgender people that everyone thinks they know, and like I've even had people try to like attack me with it before, is the whole, you're never going to be able to get wet like a real woman. And it's bullshit. Alright, no, this is kind of something in the very early stages that came as kind of a surprise. And I talk a lot about bell curves when I'm talking about differences between cisgender women and transgender women. And this, I feel, is definitely something that really has a bell curve. I mean, just on average, yes, with deals of vaginal wetness, cisgender women are going to be on the higher end of the bell curve, or going to be on the lower end of the bell curve. But I feel like the whole idea here is the idea that transgender women do not produce vaginal secretions. That's a lie. And we're not just even talking about post-surgery, obviously, since, you know, I have no idea if or when I will ever even be able to afford that. But, like, at this point, probably starting about, like, a week or two ago, I guess, the skin on that part of my body did start producing a light amount of secretions that actually, yes, I have smelled this secretion, do have a distinctly vaginal scent. I know, I'm sorry, but this is the TMI section. This stuff is for science. We need to know this. And hopefully this will make a lot of transgender women who didn't know about this or were like wondering about it happy. It honestly wasn't a complete surprise to me because I had heard a few things before that a friend who had a transgender friend who'd already been through this had told me about. I just didn't know when to expect it, and I was still kind of like, that sounds fake, but okay. But no, it's totally true, and it's not like an overwhelming amount or really what I would think of as a lot or anything, but I would also tend to think that most cisgender women who are not necessarily being aroused don't generally tend to produce a whole hell of a lot of the stuff either. So it definitely helps with dysphoria, a surprising degree, really. It honestly seems like kind of just a normal amount of stuff to be there for just, you know, average day, walking around what would normally accumulate on a cisgender woman's labia, so, I mean, it's really not surprising. There's obviously a lot of different components going into everything that ends up sloshing around down there, but the kind of key component that is a lot of times responsible for the scent that we normally associate with being vaginal is really more a skin secretion that's coming more from the labia than actually coming out of any holes or anything like that. And for those of you who don't know this, the skin of the scrotum is the same as the skin on the labia. It just takes the right hormones to get that going. I just can't wait to see the comments on this. Alright, moving past that more into actual sexual function. Everything pretty much still works normally. Just, you know, as I've said in previous videos, I no longer have any erections unless I'm actively being aroused by someone. It's definitely a vast difference from life before, where it's like, you know, people with penises who have testosterone are generally having erections several times a day for no apparent reason whatsoever. You know, could be nervous, angry, not even turned on by anything, obviously, just, you know, boners that happen in really just unexpected and weird and uncomfortable situations, and even just like waking up. And I have to say that, you know, the lack of excessive functioning is definitely something that makes me happy because it keeps it off my mind. Honestly, it's like I don't really think about my genitals as much as I used to have to. And I don't know if it's more hormones kind of affecting my brain chemistry. I don't know if it's more just like, you know, being really happy about the positive changes that are going on just with hormones. But, you know, they obviously definitely still really cause me a lot of really intense dysphoria under certain situations. But on the whole, it's like it's not something I find myself thinking about as much, I guess. It's like when I have to think about it, it's still obviously just as painful, but there's just many fewer situations where I have to think about it, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure I still have the ability to orgasm. It's kind of a difficult topic for me because of the fact that just orgasms are not something I've ever had very often. A lot of penis owners have problems admitting this. I don't, but like, you know, there's a lot of cases in which, you know, just people who have penises do end up ejaculating before they can ever reach an orgasm. It's really situational and circumstantial and weird, and I know we usually think of those events going hand in hand, but just trust me, they can definitely happen separately. And it's obviously not always been a problem. It was just kind of one of those things, like the first time in my life that I actually had an orgasm, I was like, whoa, what? But it's just not something that really happens very frequently. Now, it's kind of difficult for me to say much, because honestly, my sex life has been kind of dead lately. I will tell you this much, though. Sexual urges, sexual arousal, it's just not as easy to accomplish anymore. It doesn't happen very often. Sex is not something I spend necessarily a whole lot of time thinking about it. I mean, I'm kind of starved right now, so I guess I lately really kind of am thinking about it a lot, but nowhere near as much as I would be if I was not undergoing hormone replacement therapy. I will tell you this much. Everything is just like incredibly more sensitive. It's ridiculous. With that, I do know that I have not lost my ability to ejaculate, but it's definitely gotten a lot weaker. The consistency of it has changed. I'm pretty sure there is either no or very little viable sperm in it, if any. And I do expect, from what I've heard, and just, you know, based on how things are going, that I may eventually lose that ability, which actually would be interesting to see, because I feel like, you know, that would kind of open the door to me finding out how my orgasm capability is going to be after everything's said and done. But, you know, the good news is, for most of us who may be worried about that, I mean, it's become less and less of a thing that I worry about at all as time has gone by. But from most transgender women that I've spoken to who have been on hormone replacement therapy for a really long time, been on surgery and things like that, you're probably not going to lose your ability to have orgasms. If anything, the orgasms change, become more female. The stories are that transgender women are generally reporting having more like wave-like multiple orgasms like you would normally associate with a cisgender woman. I can't confirm or deny any of that personally until I go through it, but I definitely expect that it's one of those things where it's like a year mileage. It may vary. I mean, it varies enough with cisgender women that it's like, you know, no idea what to expect. Okay, if you've made it this far, congratulations, and I hope this information is helpful, because I am like blushing right now under all my makeup. I also hope you enjoyed today's background music. If you notice, it might be something you haven't heard before. That's because it's something that was completely composed and played and recorded by myself. It doesn't have vocals yet, and the instrument tracks are probably not finished either, but this is going to be, when it's finished, one of the singles on my new upcoming album, Phoenix, which I hope to release no later than January 31st. So definitely keep an eye out for it. It'll be on iTunes when it comes out, and I'm super excited. Alright, so that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Before we wrap up, I want to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon.com, especially today's supporter of the week, my executive director of Lip Liner, Xavier Lumen. And if you want to find out how you can get your own shout-out and show up in my credits with a cool title, or even earn other awesome rewards like getting exclusive access to weekly live streams, or even autographed prints from my modeling shoots in the mail to your door, just go to www.patreon.com/DeliaMelody to find out how you can become a patron. As always, thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, be yourself.